Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ink and Bourbon. I'm Patrick Leclerc, and today we're going to talk about character death in fiction. So as authors, we control what happens to our characters. We control the situations we put them in, and we sometimes put them through the ringer. And we do that because we need to show what these characters are made of. We need to show how they grow and change and react. And when they're tested, to show how that affects them as a person, and hopefully how they are a different person by the end of the book. And sometimes, depending on the genre, especially if you're writing, a lot of times science fiction and fantasy, which is my primary area that I read and I write in, characters die sometimes, and that's fine. But understand that's a big deal. It shouldn't be done lightly. Killing a character is losing any potential use for that character going forward. You're sacrificing something to do it, and that's how it should be, because you should feel that sacrifice. One of the best descriptions of this, one of the things that most exemplifies this for me, is in the movie Unforgiven, when Clint Eastwood's character William Money is talking about killing, and he says, "A hell of a thing killing a man. Take away all he's got, all he's ever going to have." And take that to heart. You are taking away everything this character has and everything they're going to have. You're taking away their future. You're taking away what they mean to other characters. You're taking away any impact they can have on the rest of the story. So, by all means, do it, but it should feel like a loss. And the other characters should experience that loss. So if you're going to take away everything a character has and everything they're ever going to have, you want to get some bang for your buck. Death needs to mean something or it loses its sting. If the only characters who die are, nameless extras, that doesn't matter as much. If the characters that die are all stormtroopers and red shirts and the faceless hordes, and every character with a name survives, then death really doesn't mean anything. That's just those deaths become part of the set dressing. If you want death to mean something, it's got to happen to a character that we care about. We care if they live or they die, and that means that for at least some of them, you need to have taken some time and given us a reason to care about this character. And more than just the tall soldier, the chubby guard. More than just that, where it's an identifier. Again, if you're writing war, military fiction and hundreds of people are dying, we don't need to know all of them. But somebody in that close-knit squad that that's had a conversation, that's talked to the main character, that it has shared something with the main character. So one of them dies, that brings it home. You've made them a character, not just a prop. And so that we feel that. That's what there's a lot of tropes. And we used to play, especially while watching movies or reading books, we play Spot the Red Shirt, where this guy is clearly not going to make it. It's the old joke in Star Trek. Prepare to beam down. It's going to be Kirk, Spock, Bones, and Yeoman Smith. And we all know Yeoman Smith's not going to make it back. So that's not really emotional because we knew it was coming. So if you're going to do that, unless you're hanging a lampshade on something to make it a parody, the guy, 2 days to retirement. Oh, this is my last mission. One last score. The guy who looks out and goes, "Yep, coast looks clear. I think we're going to make it." And then they die. That's cheese. That's everybody knows it. If you're subverting a trope, you're showing us you subvert it. You're showing it because you want to hang a lampshade on it, make fun of it. That's fine. if you're trying to evoke real emotion, you just undid it, because we saw that coming up Main Street. We know that this character is just a prop. He's got to die for story purposes, and it lessens it. So you want to watch that. Now, death, and the other side of death, so we want it to be emotional. My personal feeling is you want to give that character who's dying, you want to give him the spotlight for at least a moment. Don't kill important characters off stage. Don't have your main character makes it back to camp and goes, what happened to Phil? Oh yeah, Phil stepped on the landmine. Sorry. Yeah, he left you something. He wanted you to have his watch. But don't do that. If Phil's a character we've come to know and care about, and we're invested in him, give us that spotlight. Give him the heroic, valiant last stand, or give him the tragic death. Give him a moment that where we're there and we feel it, and we see it, and we're, no, not Phil. Let us experience it. If a good death is one of the last things you can give this guy before they go out, let him have their moment. So make sure we care about them. Make sure the death is emotional, and you're getting some bang for that. Because again, this is the last thing you're going to pull out with this character. So you want it to matter. The other thing about wanting it to matter is you've got to be careful about, and again, fantasy and science fiction, how permanent is death in your story. The less permanent it is, the less it matters. If characters come back from the dead, then we don't believe it when they die. Because there's no way they killed Spider-Man. There's no way. It loses emotional impact because we know that they're dead until the sequel. And that's tricky. You've got to watch how you do that. I'd use it sparingly. There's the whole, well, we never found the body. He fell off a cliff, but we don't know kind of thing. If you might bring a character back, but you want to resist doing that a lot. Again, speculative fiction, we can do anything we want, but be careful how often you pull that rabbit out of the hat, because every time you let death not be final, you're telling your reader that death's not something to worry about. Or death is only something that happens to minor characters, to the extras, the cardboard cutout set dressing spear carriers, not the main important characters. So use it sparingly, use it thoughtfully, and work it for the emotion. Milk every bit of whatever emotion you're trying to evoke. If you want to talk about this noble sacrifice, give us a noble sacrifice. Boromir's death mattered. We felt it in Lord of the Rings. That's what we want. He died. He had made a terrible mistake. His actions had brought him to that place where he had a big karmic debt he had to pay, but he redeemed himself by his sacrifice in trying to save other members of his party. And that meant something. Now, not everybody's Tolkien, and that's fine, but that's just a good example of a death of a fairly major character that was used correctly. So, and again, it wasn't, well, we all knew he was going to die because he was played by Sean Bean, and Sean Bean always dies, but but other than that, narratively it worked, and it was satisfying. It meant something. We all feel some emotions, and we understand that it mattered. And that's the kind of impact you want it to have. So Death's a big deal. It's one of the most powerful tools you have. Use it wisely. All right. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like and subscribe. Put out new content every week. And hopefully I will see you again next week. Thanks very much.